Writers. Geography is a very important topic and a skill that is often being forgot about. Being able to read maps and understand what they're showing is crucial. Geography is crucially important to westward expansion as well as to any other event in history. This means you, as researchers and writers, need to pay attention to geography as you revise your reports. Now, you may have expected that in Writing Workshop we would work on ways to revise our writing as writers, and we will. But today, our mini lesson is a little bit different. Today, I want to teach you that when you write and revise as a historian, it is important to keep in mind not only qualities of good writing, but also qualities of good history. For example, historians think it's important to include details about the places where things occurred, the geography of that place, because geography will always have an impact on what occurs. Here's the cool thing. A history writer can think about the places in which a bit of history occurred simply by keeping a map close by as he or she reads, takes notes, and writes. So if you look at the whiteboard today, our I can statement is, I can show how the geography of a place impacts what happened there. So today and tomorrow you're really focused on geography. Writers, do you remember that revision means just that? It means to re-see your writing. And you will recall that it can help for writers to put on special lenses before rereading their own writing so that they look for special things. For example, a writer can reread his or her writing looking only at how the text seems to be structured or organized. Or a writer can look at how he or she has spelled things. When writing history, one thing a writer can do is look through the lens of, have I highlighted the ways in which the geography, the place, impacted the events? So let me show you what I mean. This is one of the paragraphs I wrote in my flash draft of a report. Let's reread this together, looking at it through the lens of how much specific information is included here about places or geography. It helps to have a map on hand as you do this work. So you should all have a map, westward expansion map like this. So have that out next to you to look at as I read. And think about what I'm reading. Try and find the places on your map and touch them as I read them. And think about, what am I mentioning about the places and what don't I mention but could? Okay? So here's what I have so far in my paragraph. The Erie Canal was built to connect the Atlantic Ocean to Lake Erie. This way, people could travel by water. Writers, are you with me? Find and touch the specific places on your map. So if you haven't already located it, the Erie Canal is right up here, up by New York area. Okay? So there's the Erie Canal. What is on that map around the Erie Canal, as far as geography, as far as place, that I haven't mentioned, but I could? All right, I think I have a couple ideas. What if I added something about before the canal was there? So what if I said, before the Erie Canal was built, boats could travel from New York City in the south to Albany in the north using the Hudson River. Because I can see that on my map. I can see New York City. I can see the Hudson River. It's kind of hard to read, but it's there. Okay. And I can see Albany, which again is kind of hard to read, but it's there. And I know that Albany is in New York. So before the Erie Canal, people were going south, directional word, to north, using the Hudson River, another geographical location, Hudson River. The Erie Canal added the branch to the west. So I'm going to add that to my paragraph. The Erie Canal added a branch to the Hudson River going west. Now, boats could travel from New York City to other cities like Buffalo and Syracuse. I'm going to add that. Now, boats could travel across, up, and down New York. Across, up, and down New York. Notice the way I added more specific information, and I added towns as well as geographical features like oceans and rivers. Okay, now to make my revisions, I just added on to a paragraph I already had, but you could also add in arrows, you could cross things off, you could draw arrows to the margins to add your information, or you could simply add to the bottom of what you've already written like I have done here. Do you see, writers, that rereading with an eye on the specific places I have mentioned and those I could have mentioned has helped me to revise my draft? That means by writing and rewriting with an eye for ways to include specific details about places. Today we're focused on places, on geography. So let's add this technique to our information writing chart. So I'm going to put this up here, okay? And after asking questions, we're going to put a comma and we're going to add thinking about how the geography of the place impacted how the events unfolded. Let's look at one more section of my draft. And remember that your goal is to notice how much the writing already highlights places where the events take place and to find details about the place that can be added. You'll probably find it helps if you use any mention of a place as a cue to look at the map. So keep your maps out. We're going to look at one more section of my draft. Okay, so this is about the Oregon Trail. All right, here is what I have so far. Many people living in the eastern United States, I abbreviated and just put US, wanted to have a better life for themselves and their children. So they traveled in wagons on trails into the western states to get land. One famous trail they traveled was called the Oregon Trail. Look at your maps. Can you find the Oregon Trail on your map? Right here. So thinking about geography, places, what can I add to my paragraph about the Oregon Trail? One thing I think would be really easy is to explain where did it go, so my reader knows. I can say it started in Missouri and traveled through what is now, because remember back then these weren't states, traveled through what is now Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, before finally ending in Oregon at the Pacific Ocean. Let's add it. It started in Missouri and traveled through what is now Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Washington, and finally Oregon, stopping at the Pacific Ocean. Okay? Geography. Adding places from a map to make your writing more interesting for your reader and provide more facts about that. Before you get started today, reread a section of your own writing and tell one of your elbow partners what's your plan today. What are you going to add as far as geography to make your writing more interesting? You have a lot to do. You have to set up your materials to get ready for revision. You need to reread and revise with a map in hand. Feel free to use this one. This is a great resource. Maybe some of the books or websites you've used have maps that you would like to use too. That's okay. And I'm sure you're going to want to continue adding new subsections to your report. After you've set up your materials, turn to any passage you wrote. Any passage can be revised to bring out more information on place. Remember, we're focused on geography today. Doing this doesn't take searching and searching for the perfect passage. It just takes powerful thinking. Let's get started. And researchers, you have your revised sections for geography. You may also want to continue revising by adding more information, like important vocabulary, to your writing. Remember, you're in charge of making your writing the best it can be. Off you go.